civilization.
Ground control to Major Tom.
We've been expecting you, Mr. Boyd.
His is the worst voice you will ever hear.
Will he offer me his teeth?
Pandeliga o la boom. Morning. A very good morning. On today's show, I want to discuss what I genuinely consider to be as big a threat to civilization as is posed by nuclear power. And we all know what Chernobyl did. And I also want to discuss the biggest threat, as I see it, to the stability of our children, not just in this country, but right across the Western world. And I want to make it absolutely clear that the views that I'm going to put forward are not only carefully researched and contemporary, but absolutely heartfelt. The telephone number is free call 0500 10 53 89. And this is a portion of the airways which is occasionally dogged by the accusation that this show does not entirely, hand on heart, believe absolutely everything which is put before you. And certainly, on occasions, it is important to test the opposite view. And playing devil's advocate is something which we, on this show, are prepared to do in order to explore a new argument. Because there are new things under the sun, and they glitter, and we like them. But on this occasion, between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock this afternoon, I want to make it crystal clear that the proposition I want you to think about, and if you care to call, would be so kind, free call 0500 10 53 89, is absolutely heartfelt, entirely serious in every respect. It is very, very serious. It is a serious state of affairs. Unfortunately, on first hearing, a great many people will dismiss this idea out of hand. Please don't. You will hear it here first, or you may have seen it read about in some parochial publications which have dared to venture this idea. Most people will hear it here first, but you will be hearing about this a lot. One item, one commodity, one consumer durable, well, actually, it's indurable, okay? One consumer item poses the biggest threat to civilization as we know it, and the biggest threat to the psychological well-being of our children. And it is, this is the thing, you see, it's very hard to say it without making it sound as though it has to be some kind of a spoof, but it's true, disposable nappies. There, I've said it, I've got to the point. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Disposable nappies are the root of the biggest evils Western civilization faces. It's a fact. And I have a mountain of facts almost as big as the mountain of disposable nappies which have been tipped beneath planet Earth's surface over the last 15 years since they became popular. And remember, this is the important thing from the point of view of the environmental aspect of this. Not one of those disposable nappies has begun to degrade. They are non-biodegradable. They will never degrade. They will outlast you. They will outlast your children, your children's children. They will still be here at the dawn of the millennium after the next one. Free call 0500 10 53 89. But they're not only a threat to the environment because they won't go away, and because they are producing methane gas beneath the Earth's surface at literally an incalculable rate. They are also responsible, it could be, for some of the many anxieties, neuroses, and unpredictable behaviour that a lot of our children are already displaying. Free call 0500 10 53 89. If you travel to so-called third world countries, if you travel to places which are often described as being underdeveloped, then you will meet children who do not wear nappies. And the first thing that will strike you about them is that they are contented. They are calm. They are happy to sit and watch the world go by. They are not demanding attention. They are not crying out to be looked after, crying out to be played with, crying out for comfort. I asked a doctor in Kenya who had 80,000 patients how often children came to him with any kind of emotional disorders, and he said it simply never happens. We both sat and wondered why. It wasn't until I came back to this country that I realised that it is possible that the use of disposable nappies is responsible for some, or the beginnings of some, of the emotional disorders and the anxieties which are being developed by children in this country, in all of the developed countries, but particularly we know in this country and in the United States as well. Why? Well, for a range of reasons. First of all, it's very unnatural for a small child to be swathed in that way. I mean, let's set aside the fact that it must cause them motor difficulties, having that enormous, gigantic bandage wrapped around them day and night. They get virtually no respite from them except when they're having a bath. Nappies, as we know, cause nappy rash. Nappies, as we know, mean that children are going to be having their waste product next to their skin for, even if a mum or a dad is vigilant, 20 minutes, half an hour, maybe a couple of hours, sometimes right the way through the night. Now, I do believe that children, like all animals, instinctively know that that can't be right. And there is the beginnings of a sensation that something is not right. And we wonder why they cry, and we wonder why they wake up, and we wonder why they seem disaffected. But not only that, and this is a very, very important point, from the point of view of sheer comfort, children like to touch themselves, and they touch themselves all over. They feel their bodies. When you put your youngster without a nappy on the sofa and you're watching Home and Away or whatever, you will notice that youngster enjoys just the sensation of its own hands against its own body, something which it is deprived of doing when it wears a nappy. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Nappies, disposables, are environmentally lethal, and I'll get to the numbers on this in about 10 minutes' time, if you want to write them down, to win the argument when you take this argument out to the wide world, and I do hope you do, all right? These figures are astonishing. I don't have any figures to back up the notion that that disposable nappies could be responsible for some of the anxieties which our children display. The telephone number for your thoughts is free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyds. Yes. In a nutshell, disposable nappies, has the time come to outlaw them? Nigel calls from West Yorkshire. You're on Talk Radio, Nigel.
Yeah, Tommy, it's about the nappies, the disposable nappies, or the modern disposable nappies. I'm just thinking about my own view that some of these nappies, as actually you see on the adverts on TV, seem to actually give the indication that every child who's happy in a dry nappy is happy. But it doesn't help your potty training, because it means that if they're happy in a dry nappy, basically it means that they don't realise that they're wet, and that one of the sensations which cause the child, to actually think, I must go to a potty, is that discomfort, basically. And you don't get that with disposables, because they make them so, the high-tech way they make them these days is so such that they think, I'm all right in this.
You made a good point, and I hadn't thought about that. And if you read your Freud, you'll know the importance of good potty training.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to get my kids to be a potty trainer. It's hard work, because they're quite happy to be in these wonderful Pampers. Sorry, I should mention Pampers, a trade name, but so.
Whatever. They've got some questions, some hard questions, which they need to answer. We'll talk about them, the whole business, during this hour of the programme, and then I've got a feeling I'm going to tool up one of my serious investigative journalists, and we'll dispatch him or her out there and see what their reaction is. But thank you, Nigel.
Well, the other thing was, Tommy, was that this thing you mentioned about the methane gas, about from nappies. I mean, you mentioned that in the intro to the programme. I mean, where they all going to? That's it just set me thinking as well.
Yes.
It's got me thinking too. Yeah. Where do all these nappies go to?
They get tipped into the earth.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, I can imagine it's quite a problem if they do accumulate, but if you're saying that they're not going to get disposed of, or they're just going to, as in nuclear waste, they're all going to just lie there and just seep into the earth and just, I mean, you got some figures there to project what's going to happen in the future?
I can't project, but I've got some figures based on what has happened so far, and that makes pretty startling listening, Nigel. I'll give those figures out in about 5 minutes. Stevie calls. Thank you for your call, Nigel. In London, you're on Talk Radio, Stevie.
Yeah, hi. That guy's basically right. The sooner you learn that you've got to sit in it sometimes, the better. And the nappies, you don't get to understand that you've got to sit in it sometimes. And the stuff that's in the nappies comes from NASA, the American Space Agency. Really? And it's got a half-life of 150,000 years, which means half of it will still be there, basically, in all that time. But what's wrong with digging up methane in the future for fuel?
Well, you know that can't be done.
Why not?
There's a very serious discussion here, Steve. If you're suggesting that we're going to be able to create electricity by tapping into the resources of methane gas produced by disposable nappies, I like it.
If we organise it, if we're getting top of it and put them all in the same place, why can't we tap into that sort of thing?
Stevie, that's definitely tongue-in-cheek, and this is a serious news and current affairs debate programme. I can't have these extremely serious ideas undermined with levity. Douglas calls from Knighton. You're on Talk Radio, Douglas.
Good afternoon.
Sir.
I enjoy your programmes.
So do I.
Yeah, good. Mutual agreement there.
Yes. So far, so good.
Yeah. My limited experience of nappies has been being a bachelor. The fact that rural kiosks in Scotland at least seem to be a magnet for these things to be dumped behind, which is an appalling situation.
Is that what happens?
And the damn thing should be banned instantly. What happens?
Is that what happens, Douglas?
Well, I understood when I'm phoning, they're left there until some unfortunate roadman has to clean them up.
Thank you for your call. Here are the numbers. This week alone, in Britain, approximately 5,250,000 disposable nappies will go into the ground. That's in Britain in 1 week, this week. Okay. In the 15 years since disposables became commonplace, 4,095 million have been put into the ground in Great Britain. That is 3,656,000 tonnes. Okay, assuming they weigh £2 each, which I think is reasonable, isn't it? Okay. Worldwide, 81 million nappies a day are used, disposed of, and presumably put into the ground. That is 44 billion nappies in 15 years. Now, just to give you some idea of the quantity of disposable nappies which the planet cannot dispose of, have been used and put in the earth in the last 15 years. If you were to spread them out, they'd cover approximately 2 square feet, each nappy, roughly. Is that fair? That's roughly right, isn't it? They're about 15 inches by about a good 24 inches. So if we call them 2 square feet for the sake of making the calculation easy, okay, then all the disposable nappies that have been used in the world over the last 15 years would cover an area of 89 million acres. That is 31,727 square miles. That is all of England, all of Scotland, and most of Wales. You could cover with the disposable nappies that planet Earth has used up and not found a way of disposing of over the last 15 years. Free call 0500 10 53 89. So there's that catastrophe waiting to happen, along with the more difficult to quantify potential catastrophe that could be taking place with our children's emotions, because they don't want to wear them, do they? It's the first thing we do to them that they don't want done to them. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Sean calls from Slough. You're on Talk Radio, Sean. Good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy.
Sean.
Yeah, I understand the environmental side of this issue, because it's very fashionable right now to show how worried you are about the environment. But I've always thought there's no point really sorting out the environment of the world.
Going to see if he comes back, because it could be one of those phones. No, Sean, try again. It was reasonably interesting, but we don't know what the punchline was. Phil's on the line from Leeds. You're on Talk Radio, Phil.
Hi, Tommy. How
Hello.
you doing?
All right, yourself?
Yeah, well, yeah. I just want to make the point that the original toweling kind of nappy that we had back in the 60s when I was a kid, that you could use them for several purposes. I remember when I was a kid, I was playing in a beech hedge that my dad had cut, and I got a piece of beech hedge stuck into my face just below my eye.
Ooh.
In those days, we didn't have a car, and we didn't have a bandage really big enough to put around my head. So my mum, who'd washed them and hung them out on the line, wrapped it around my head. We got on the bus and we went down into Leeds and got it. I've still got the scar now and got it stitched up. Now, you couldn't do that with a disposable, could you?
No, I don't know.
I mean, would you want to put a disposable on your head?
No.
I mean, you couldn't really tell it was a nappy that was, mind you, I can't really remember a lot about it. I suppose it gave the people on the bus a good laugh, but...
I have worn them around the house for the purposes of family comedy.
Oh, yeah.
And they do raise a laugh.
True.
As you can imagine.
The other thing about disposable nappies is that I've been on the road a lot. I spend my time eating my dinners in lay-bys. And one of the annoying things is that a lot of people, when the child obviously soils the nappy in the car, they tend to just change the kid and just chuck it out in the lay-by.
We don't like that, do we?
Don't like that.
If you ever want to dress up as a High Court judge...
Yeah.
Obviously you don't want to hire one of those wigs.
Definitely not.
Disposable nappy.
Yeah?
Yes.
Oh, I'm not so sure about that one. How do you work that one out?
You just open the nappy up and put it over your head so that it hangs down on either side and it looks like a judge's wig.
Got you. I'm
Okay.
going to try that when I get home, because I've got 2 boys.
I know you will. Do it.
I'm going to do it.
You'll get a laugh.
I bet.
Don't do it with a used one.
not one of my lads, anyway.
Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
This is Talk Radio, the conversation of the nation.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The need for disposable nappies presumably only arose... Please don't accuse me of sexism in making this point. It's simply a realistic observation. Presumably it only arose when mums became busier than they used to be when they were having children 100 years ago. Busier, presumably, because they wanted to marry careers with the business of bringing up children. Washing and boiling nappies, of course, is not a pleasant business, but it could be better for the babe and it could be better for the environment. Of course, what would be absolutely best would be if the youngster were allowed to wander around the house without anything on. Our houses are warm enough nowadays around the year, generally speaking, especially if we've got children. And kitchen floors also are pretty easily kept clean no matter what falls on them. That's how they do it in other countries. Other countries where people can't afford nappies, and other countries where, it seems to me, the children are a lot more contented. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Lisa calls from Lowestoft. You're on Talk Radio, Lisa. Hello.
Hi, I'm a single parent and I've got a little boy who's just over a year old now. And ever since he was 18 weeks old, I went to work. But I've always kept him in terry towel and nappies.
Mm-hmm.
But usually with all the people who I work with, as soon as I mention that, they just look at me as I'm a freak and say, oh, we use disposables. They're a lot easier.
Well, I'm glad to have tooled you up with quite a few arguments so that you can come back at them now, Lisa, I hope.
Yeah.
Have you considered letting your youngster, though, go around the house without a nappy on at all?
Yeah.
For how long during the course of a typical day would that happen?
About an hour.
Pardon?
About an hour, sort of thing, at different intervals during the day.
Okay, well, that's a start, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you feel that the child is more contented when it hasn't got a nappy on at all?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
But as for some of them sort of like saying about all the hard work, I mean, most of the time, straight after I've bathed him, I rinse the nappies out, put them in a bowl, wash with his towels anyway, so that's really no hardship to me.
Keep up the good work, Lisa.
Thanks a lot.
You're a child of the future.
Right.
Aren't you?
Bye.
Yeah. Patricia calls from Cardigan. You're on Talk Radio. Patricia, good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy.
Hello.
It's the fact that you told that man about reusing the methane. That was quite a serious point. I don't think that was a laughing thing. It wasn't a joke, was it? It was meant.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I don't know how practical it would be. You'd have to create enormous vacuum-sealed containers for the nappies to ferment for a while before you'd get usable quantities of methane.
Well, it's still worth considering. And the other thing you haven't thought about in the quantity of nappies is the amount of disposable nappies which are actually used by the incontinent elderly, which also have to be disposed of.
Yes.
That must be a considerable quantity. I mean, first of all, they're a bigger area.
Well, I'm a journalist. I don't deal in loose numbers like considerable quantity. Do you have your facts in front of you?
Oh, I haven't got facts, but I do know a lot of people in old people's homes have to use them. Okay. That's what I'm saying. They also have to be disposed of.
Okay, well, let's get the facts, shall we? Roughly how many elderly people do you think there are in Britain?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. I haven't got a clue. I know I'm one of them, but not incontinent yet, thank the Lord.
You don't wear nappies?
Not yet.
Okay. Shall we say 3 million?
Right.
Is that fair?
I guess so, yes.
And what percentage of those do you suppose wear nappies?
Well, imagine 1%.
1%, okay.
That's 30,000, isn't it?
That gives us 30,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well...
Per day, and several per day?
Several per day?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
That is true. That is fact, Tommy.
I'm very glad what you're actually doing is fueling an argument for me. However, the argument does not extend to the possibility that elderly people suffer emotional disorders because they're wearing disposable nappies, or does it, Patricia?
Or does it? We don't know, do we? Because if they're doubly incontinent, they might also be have Alzheimer's or whatever. So we don't really know, do we? But it's still an amount to be disposed of.
Do they make Does anybody make reusable nappies for adults?
Not to my knowledge. I don't know the answer to that. I don't think so. I presume it's. I don't know. Why should I presume anything I don't know?
I'm just thinking through the possibility that if we were all to wear nappies during the day, it would obviously increase productivity at work because people wouldn't have to take loo breaks. But not only that, there would be an awful lot... What?
Sorry.
Well, you have to think things through. You came on the radio and said you've got to think things through.
I know I did.
You know, people wouldn't have to get up at night because that can often damage your night's sleep. You can't get back to sleep, can you? Once you've got up and gone to the bathroom.
No one listens to the radio then at night for word service.
Fair enough. And there's an awful lot of, we've got a homeless problem in this country. I don't know whether if we were to convert all the public lavatories into homes for homeless people.
But you'd have to have a lavatory in them, Tommy.
No, yes, you would in the home. Yes. They've already got a lavatory. They've got lots of lavatories. If we use, lavatories for the homeless, then we'd have to wear nappies all day long because we couldn't use public conveniences.
This is a stranger and weirder idea than the poor man and his methane.
Well, you started it. You asked.
I know I did, because I didn't like you laughing at him, because I thought it was quite a serious thing. I actually have a friend who takes the insides out of disposable nappies and uses it, the gelling agent or whatever it is that absorbs the crystals, for repotting her pot plants. And now that is a serious comment.
What? Could you grow cress on them?
No, not cress. Growing the geraniums in a hanging basket.
No, but in Blue Peter they always grow cress, don't they, on blotting paper?
I wouldn't know about Blue Peter, dear. I haven't watched for a while, but I'm telling you, this is a serious thing that she has done.
Yes. And what's more dangerous if you're a baby? The sticky tape that they use on disposables or the safety pins that they used to use on reusables?
Well, I don't know. The safety pins are quite lethal.
They can be. The curved
ones. The curved ones.
There's something homely about them, though, isn't there? Those great big curved ones.
Yes. And how many have you stuck into your babies?
Well, we've only ever used disposables, you see, so I can't...
I see. We're preaching to the converted,
Thank you, Patricia. It's been lovely talking to you.
Bye.
No, I will hold up my hands and say that if any wrong has been done here, I have also done that wrong. But this new information has only just landed with a dumph on my desk, and I'm anxious to let you have it just as soon as possible, which is what we're doing this afternoon. Sean managed to beaver his way back from Slough. Sean, start all over again. You're on Talk Radio.
Hi, mate. Hi. Yeah, I wanted to raise the issue of not so much how important this is environmentally, because I presume that's what first drew you to it, the fact that there's so many X amount of pounds worth of nappies piling up over us. But the really dark thing here is that what you raised about the effect this has on the minds of our babies, and of course babies do have minds, even though they might only go, they do actually have a mind.
Agreed.
Yeah, of course. And the long-term effects, I think this is, you've raised something here, which is probably, the many months I've listened to your show, this is probably one of the most important ones of the whole lot. This is really dark. Because what's the point of sorting out the ecology and the environment if the fresh, new people that come into this world every day are going to be soiled, no pun intended, from day one, in their minds. Yeah, yes. I mean, this is serious stuff. There's no point sorting out the ecology, let's just sort out people first.
Agreed.
Sort out the babies, the new people first, then go on to the environment.
Have you children, Sean?
I haven't, no.
No? Well, you'll be a good dad, so get round to it as soon as you can.
Thank you.
Thank you for your call. What?
Sorry.
I know you were going to start a sentence. I always let people make all their points.
Oh, thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is one of so many people in the world who've got such an uptight kind of persona about them. Maybe, this is a dark thing here that you've raised.
Sean in Slough. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Phil calls from Rugby. You're on Talk Radio, Phil.
Hi, Tommy. Good afternoon.
Sir.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, thank you for asking. And you?
Oh, pretty good. Tommy, reason I was calling, I heard you say about you never heard of anybody using methane as a power source from landfill sites.
Right, yes, go on.
Well, I lived over in Australia for a few years, and there's actually a place just outside Melbourne where they do exactly that. they use the methane gas which they pipe off the surface to grow roses and to actually generate electricity, which they put back into the national grid there.
Really? How do they generate electricity using methane?
They pipe the gas and then they have some sort of gas turbine which drives a generator.
I see.
Yeah, pretty interesting stuff it was. It was just being built.
Fascinating.
4 years ago, and it was up and going. So there you go, they're already doing it.
Now, wait a second. Landfill sites do not necessarily produce methane if those landfill sites are filled with normal household waste.
If you've got rotting vegetables and things like that, it also produces methane.
Right. To what extent, then, was that methane produced by disposable nappies?
I haven't got a clue, to be honest with you. I would imagine quite a lot, because
I would imagine quite a lot. I think we're on to something here. Phil, I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
All right.
For the scientific aspect, free call 0500 10 53 89. Dee calls from Milton Keynes. You're on Talk Radio. Dee, good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy.
Hello, Dee.
Shame on you for admitting that you use disposable nappies. Shame on you. I brought up 2 children. My youngest is 7, both of them in terry nappies. And what they were saying earlier about that it messes up their potty training. Both of mine, 14 months old maximum, and they were clean, dry, day and night.
So you use nappies with your children?
And I used terry nappies, washed them out every day, and I felt like a proper mother pinning them all up on the line in nice white lines.
Well, you see, shame on you too.
Why, for putting nappies on them at all?
Yes.
Well, yeah, but I mean, when it was, the main reason was that we couldn't afford, £20 a week for disposable nappies?
Yes, you're going in the wrong...
You're going huge amount of money.
You're going in the wrong direction. We're wondering whether wrapping children up in nappies causes them emotional distress.
No, because I think babies are so much happier with nothing on at all.
Yes, they are.
And they love it to just put them on the floor, let them gurgle around with no clothes on at all. They love it.
But because
it's not always practical. You can't take them to the supermarket like that.
Okay, agreed. But because we've got nice carpets, we think our children have got to be in nappies all the time. This is the problem, isn't it?
It's
we don't
funny
do it
how
for them.
We can let children walk around with nappies on, but we'll allow a puppy to do it all over the floor and just clean up after it, and that's fine.
We don't do it for them, we do it for ourselves as parents, and because we're house proud, and because we've just got a nice shag pile down in the lounge.
That's right.
You know.
And they still do it anyway, they still mess it up, so what's the
We've got lino in our kitchen, most of us, haven't we? Not many people have carpets.
Yeah, I haven't got a carpet at all, actually, downstairs. I've done it all with cork floors, so I don't have to worry about the carpet at all now with my children.
And when you've got a baby, you spend most of your time in the kitchen anyway.
You seem to, yes, you do seem to. Or at the washing machine doing the nappies.
So how ridiculous then to go into a home where you've got a mum who's in the kitchen most of the time and the baby is therefore in the kitchen most of the time and that child is wrapped up in a nappy. It's not been thought through, has it?
It hasn't. Like I said, you can't take them shopping like that. You can't take them to someone else's house like that, can you? In your own home, yes. I mean, mine used to sit in the grass in the garden and play. My sister had a little boy who was in the house with his nappies and his clothes, and he was frightened of grass.
Really?
By 2 years old, he was frightened of grass. He'd never seen it.
Dee, I'm grateful for your contribution. Keep up the good work. You're nearly there. Arthur calls from Brockenhurst. You're on Talk Radio, Arthur. Good afternoon.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. I'm ringing. I'm 18 years old, and I was brought up wearing disposable nappies.
Oh dear.
And I'm quite sort of interested in the environment and all that kind of thing. And I'm just disgusted.
Yes.
That this can actually be true, and I was just ringing really to dispute the facts and find out. I mean, if there's any proof, is there?
What do you mean proof?
Well, facts and figures, anything like that.
Well, I've just given out enough facts and figures to, to keep you going for a couple of weeks if you want to win the argument with your friends.
Right.
31,727 square miles of nappies have gone into the earth.
Well, anyway, the point is, I've come into quite a lot of money recently, and I'm thinking of trying to get some of these landfill sites dug up, and I was wondering if there's any better way of disposing of them.
Of the nappies?
Yes.
Well, the best that we can think of, because we do have this enormous legacy of 44 billion nappies that have gone into the earth in the last 15 years, best we can come up with is the idea of using them to create energy.
Yeah.
How much have you come into?
Well, I won 100,000 on the lottery last week.
Mm.
And
it's not a lot, really.
Well, it's quite a bit. Depends how much it would possibly take.
It's not enough when you're 18. You need more money, Arthur.
Right.
I suggest you invest it.
Yes.
And keep doing the lottery.
And try and get some more.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
If you become seriously rich, then you may be able to tackle some of the world's problems.
Okay.
But congratulations anyway.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Free call 0500 10 53 89. See, winning that money's not going to do him any good at all. He's going to lose all his impetus. He's going to sit around. He's going to buy a fast car. He's going to hang out in nightclubs in the hope that women will find out that he's the loaded boy. You know,
he's not going to take a job for 15 grand, is he?
Jealous?
He'll spend all the money and then he'll go, I can't work for 15 grand, it's nothing. And
jealous?
Not at all. I'm
me neither.
glad I didn't win it at that age.
I'm very grateful.
It would have screwed me right up.
It would have, yes. You'd have been a wreck, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You wouldn't have got where you are today, or me.
I enter the lottery, so I definitely don't win it. I enjoy it when I don't win.
Yeah, do you?
Yeah, because I know I'm not going to be messed up by it.
Oh.
So it's a pound well spent.
Isn't that a good way of looking at it? You know what? You see, you are a sane man, and that's because you didn't win any money when you were young.
Exactly. And I didn't wear nappies, man.
No.
No.
A pleasure getting your wisdom again, Ash. Thank you for that. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Richard's on the line from Birmingham. You're on Talk Radio, Richard.
Hi, Tommy.
Sir.
These disposable nappies, I know about the ecological value for them and disadvantages, but you can put them on within seconds. Like I'm a bit older than my youngest brother, and I can remember my mum spending 2-3 minutes putting a nappy on, so our children are being emotional unstable because they're not having that physical contact with their parents.
Very good point. Very good point. Very good point. If a child isn't wearing a nappy, that child has to be bathed and tended to and mopped. When it performs its normal bodily functions, it's got a nappy on, it just gets popped on a stool, 30 seconds later, patted on the bottom and told to go away and look after itself. You made a good point.
That's right, and you can buy nappies for adults. And the baby rubbers, I should know what about that place.
Really?
Yeah.
You wouldn't consider wearing them yourself if you were going out on the town?
No.
Why not?
Maybe if I was going on a mega session.
Maybe if we had a nappy awareness day and all adults in Britain who felt that nappies were a good idea were made to wear 3 nappies in the course of a day and had to, couldn't change their first nappy until 10 o'clock in the morning.
No, I would want somebody to change me and she'd have to be gorgeous.
I suppose there's that aspect of it. Again, the Freudian aspect. We must remember that Freud was right. Melanie calls from Fareham. You're on Talk Radio, Melanie. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm just so glad that somebody's talking about this for once.
Thank you.
Terry nappies are brilliant. Disposables shouldn't even be around. They're just rubbish, basically. And they are rubbish, literally. I don't think they should even be allowed to call them disposables because you're just passing the problem on somewhere else. You're not disposing of it. And it's just clogging up the earth for the kids, basically.
Well, I don't want to blow an entire industry away, Melanie, because...
I do.
Well, the way the EC have asked the government to recalculate the unemployment figures, it looks as though without anything actually happening, we're going to have another 500,000 unemployed on our hands at the end of the next month.
Yeah.
The last thing we want to do is to do away with a burgeoning industry, which is the creation and distribution of these disposable
Well, they can
nappies.
make real ones.
I suppose they could, but modern commerce doesn't like reusable things. That's why we've never had the everlasting light bulb, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
one thing that does concern me about them is the gels in them. I mean, how safe are they?
Oh.
She's a bit tired. I mean, I had to use them for a few days when we went on holiday, these disposables, if you like to call them, and they actually gave her a rash. And, I mean, they're supposed to prevent nappy rash, aren't they? But no, they gave her a rash.
Where did you go on holiday?
Devon.
You see, I was swimming off Cornwall last time we were down there, and a disposable floated past.
Yeah, I know. They're horrible things.
I'm grateful for your angle on it, Melanie. How old's the baby?
Well, she's not now. She's out of nappy. She's 3.5.
Marvellous.
And it was easier potty training, like everyone says.
Was it?
Yeah. And you don't need safety pins either. There's
No.
a little gadget you can get.
Gadgets.
I can't say the name, but they grip the nappy.
Understood. Thanks for your call.
Okay, bye.
Talk to you again. Bye-bye. Pre-call 0500 10 53 89. Nappies could be the root of 2 of the greatest evils this planet faces. The threat to the environment and the threat to the emotional well-being of our babies. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
up to our waist in a very important issue, which is the dangers posed twofold, broadly, by all the nappies that there are in the world, none of which will ever go away. If we call 0500 10 53 89. Here's Mark calling from Slough. You're on Talk Radio, Mark. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tommy.
Sir.
I would like to bring to your attention the AB Society based in the UK, the Adult Baby Society, who actually discuss a similar situation in which is more comfortable for them, whether it be disposables or terry nappies. And there are 28,000 members in the UK.
Is that right?
And allegedly there are a number of MPs, and I say allegedly.
Allegedly is the word to use. Yes, advisedly.
And they too debate on the necessity for the disposable nappy, and we're talking adult disposable nappies as well.
Really?
And it's the reason I know this, I used to work for a publishing company who produced their quarterly magazine. And I've actually been present at one of their get-togethers, let's put it that way. And that indeed was a sight for sore eyes.
Mark, I'm grateful for your call. Thank you for that information. Drive on, drive safely. Joe calls from London. You're on Talk Radio, Joe. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello.
4% of household waste is disposable nappies. We've got to think about not using them. We've got to think about alternatives. There are easy alternatives. You don't have to use terries and pins and boil them. You can buy fitted reusables, fasten them with Velcro.
How many children have you got?
I've got 2.
What age are they now?
They're 3 and 8 months.
Boys or girls?
One of each.
Okay, which one's the elder?
The girl.
Okay.
And she was out of nappies before she was 2.
Right.
It's a big problem. You can buy reusables for adults as well. There are companies making them. Also, nappy washing services. You don't actually have to do it yourself. You can join a nappy washing service who will provide you with reusable nappies, and they'll collect them from you, wash them, and return them to you.
Okay. That's the practical side of it. When we have a baby, none of us have to pass a test or go on a course.
Perhaps we should.
Well, we read a few books, and those books tell us about some of the practical aspects and feeding and sleeping and so on and so forth. But very, very little discussion takes place about the emotional development of a baby. When you put your youngsters without their nappies, sit them down on the sofa or whatever, or let them just be by themselves, lie on the floor, on their back, without a nappy, did your children do what my children did, which was to immediately sort of cuddle themselves in their midriff area, if you know what I mean?
Oh, they do all sorts of things. It depends what mood they're in. You know, they might do that. They might crawl around. Babies love being out of nappies. But, I mean, we don't have the climate to have naked babies. You know, it's not just a question...
We do in our own homes.
Well... Not necessarily. Not everybody has got central heating.
Pretty much.
No, I won't disagree, you know.
Well, I
People have got different circumstances. You don't need central heating to have babies.
Look, we do not put babies in nappies to keep them warm, woman. Don't get silly on me.
We can't... No, I'm not. No, I'm being totally serious. I'm not being silly. We don't just put babies in nappies to stop them soiling on the carpet. I mean, I can basically keep my babies out of the nappy.
You were going so well here. Are you on the radio to tell us that you put children in nappies to keep them warm?
Not solely, no.
That's what it sounds like.
No, you're not listening to me. In the summertime...
You're not listening to yourself.
I am listening to myself. In the summertime, that's another thing. When it's warm enough, that's fine. But part of the reason is because they need to be warm.
No.
Yes.
No,
I'm sorry. I won't have you calling me silly.
There isn't an inch in that argument. There really isn't.
Well,
it just doesn't work
in some countries of the world, you don't need nappies. It's hot the whole time round.
Yes.
And they just don't use them in African countries, and other warm climates.
They haven't got them in African countries.
They haven't got what?
Nappies.
That's what I'm saying. You don't need them because it's warm enough.
It isn't that they don't need them; they can't afford them.
No, well, they don't need them.
No, they can't afford them. If they could afford them, we'd pressurise them into using them.
There are
carpets down in their huts.
There are African countries that use disposable nappies. North African countries, possibly further south, sub-Saharan. I'm not sure.
No, I am. I've spent a lot of time looking at childcare and development in those countries.
Well, I know they're available in Tunisia and other countries around there because I've been there and seen them used.
Yes, we're pottering around the houses here now. We have to pin ourselves down, if I can put it like that. What I want to know is this: to what extent is being able to reassure yourself by touching yourself an important part of a child's emotional development?
Yeah, it's necessary.
Right. And we don't pay any attention to that aspect of child development at all.
Who doesn't?
Well, we don't.
Well, we do. We're talking about it.
I know, but we're not doing anything about it because
Who isn't?
the nation.
Well, I mean, everybody lets their baby out of their nappy for some part of the day, don't they? You know, in potty training, usually start potty training in the summer when the weather's warm, when they can be without a nappy and it doesn't matter.
Oh, come on, out of a 24-hour day, approximately, how much of that day does a newborn baby spend in nappies?
A newborn, probably 23.
And a 6-month-old baby?
3 or 4 maybe, depending on the weather.
In nappies? 3 or 4 hours in nappies, you're wrong. Out of. Not a big percentage, is it?
No, but it depends on your circumstances, depends what you're doing, how busy you are, where you need to go.
We're talking about bringing up children here, and
but children don't just stay in the home 24 hours a day, do they?
Excuse me, it's about children, not about the needs of the parents to have a meaningful career or whatever, isn't it?
Well, just because you're not working doesn't mean you're in your house the whole day. You go out and do things.
Yes, but we don't spend 8 hours a day in the supermarket.
No, but you might spend an hour in the supermarket. You might be going to visit friends. You might be going to the park.
Yeah, you might well be doing that, but you might also be at home, and it hasn't occurred to you to take your
but not the whole day. People don't stay at home all day with their children.
Even if they do, whether they do or they don't, people do not take off the baby's nappy the first chance they get.
Well, I think you're making generalisations.
Well, it's simply true.
I know you need to, but you don't know. Different people deal with their children in different ways.
I haven't met anybody who recognised that they could be causing their child emotional harm by keeping them in nappies. Have you?
I think that's a bit silly myself, actually.
Oh, now we got to the bottom line. Didn't have to take you a long while to go around the block, didn't it? You think that's silly?
No, I think the most important thing is that we're creating a lot of waste by using disposables, and we don't actually need to.
I disagree. That is the most accessible point, because we've had the environment drummed into us, and it's an easy one for people to take on board. Emotional development is a very, very vicarious area. A very contentious area, but it doesn't mean to say that just because we don't quite understand it, we shouldn't think about it.
No, I did.
Did you?
Yes, but I think that the issue of waste is a huge one, and we can't ignore it.
Well, I'm glad to have brought that to the nation's attention. I like silences, don't you?
Sorry, I know you're waiting for me to say something.
Well,
yeah, no, I'm glad that you're discussing nappies.
Yes.
And I think it's something that needs to be aired, and babies' bottoms need to be aired too, as
well
you say.
Said. Well said. Thanks for ringing.
Oh, thank you for talking to me.
Nice to talk to you. Ta-da. Free call 0500 1053 89. Nappies, the root of all evil. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. Good argument for listening.
This is Talk Radio. Free call 0500 1053 89.
If you're driving and you're interested, England are batting and they're 21 for naught. Free call 0500 1053 89. Claire calls from Lowestoft. You're on Talk Radio. Claire, hello.
Hello, Tommy.
Claire.
I'm obviously another advocate for tearing nappies, but I also have to say, I mean, I didn't work, and my daughter had as much bare bum time as I could let her have.
Bare bum time, well said. And from now on, we'll call them reusables rather than use any brand name.
Yes.
Because there are other brands.
Oh, right.
Okay.
I mean, I can remember, when she was 6 months, just thinking about it now, my husband would come walking out of the bathroom and going, oh my God, poo on the carpet. But I mean, she was happy, and if she did a wee, I mean, what is it? It's water. And also, from about the time when she was up on her feet, 9 to 10 months, I actually bought the baby knickers. Mm-hmm. So to answer the previous caller saying they get cold, they were actually baby knickers on the market, little toweling knickers that you can put them in, and she'd run around. She never really suffered the runs, so if she did anything the other end, it was never really too messy. But, I mean, I even knew then when she was going to, because she'd go and hide. They like their privacy, so you think, uh-oh, where you go? And, if you're washing a little pair of knickers out, and, to see them walk without this
is good mumming
between their legs.
This is really good mumming. Now, you think about it, when a child is probably never more vulnerable or sensitive, more sponge-like, soaking things up than when it's having its first year on planet Earth.
That's right.
And what happens is, one winter's afternoon in the middle of January, Mum wraps him or her up in this enormous, great, cumbersome thing, which is then, filled with a less than pleasant product, then puts them in a wheelchair, a push chair, and takes them for a walk, where they're sat down right at ground level, so they get a jolly good view of dogs, bicycle wheels, people's knees and ankles, and shopping baskets, all right? And they push this child in front of them, in the freezing cold, because it is cold out, isn't it? And they've got bare faces, if nothing else. Okay, you do that to a newborn.
But I mean, you said it, Tommy. When they're like, well, I know you didn't mean that like sponges, but when they're at the age when they're taking in so much information, which the children do, when you think how much they learn at that age, and most of these experts, they'll leave potty training until they're about 2. But when they're learning that's a cat, you can say to a 9-month-old, "Where's the cat? Where's the dog?" and it will point. So why can't you say, "Where's the potty?
Grand.
Where's the toilet?"
I like it.
And, you know, and I used to put her on, and I used to actually reward her. Give her, give her a little, white button. And, so why can't you do that? Why wait till they're 2?
People are always saying, the youth of today and children nowadays, they're saying that they seem to be more hyperactive, they seem to have a lower attention span.
Don't forget to subscribe and like. Comment too if you wish. Even slap your legs and make a purchase from Ann Summers. But don't do nothing.